Hello and welcome to Trips Travels here on 92.1 The Big Dawg, brought to you by A1 Termite and Pest Control of Lenore. Today's episode takes us down Catawba County Way to the oldest continually running NASCAR track around, the legendary Hickory Motor Speedway, birthplace of the NASCAR stars. Recently, I was at the Speedway with a meet and greet with a few NASCAR greats. I had the joy of interviewing Ned Jarrett, Morgan Shepherd, Dennis Setzer, and Tommy Houston. These legends, along with other greats like Ralph Earnhardt, Harry Gant, Junior Johnson, Ned Jarrett, Donnie and Bobby Allison, and many, many more, have helped make Hickory Motor Speedway what it is today. Steeped in tradition and history, Hickory Motor Speedway is old school racing at its best. And in 2011, they will celebrate 60 years of racing. I recently attended the Dwight Huffman Memorial Race this year, and I brought my son with me, and we sat and watched the fender bang in action, and my mind just drifted off to another time. It took me back to my childhood days when my dad took me to the old North Wilkesboro Speedway and the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He'd take us twice a year from the time I was 7 or 8 years old. I remember watching the late, great Tim Richmond racing around the track in the number 27 Old Milwaukee Pontiac. I once even got Davey Allison's autograph when he was just a rookie. I remember watching Darrell Waltrip race the famed number 11 Mountain Dew Buick for Junior Johnson. See, my dad, he always pulled for whoever drove for Junior, right up until the day Junior switched to Fords, because my dad's a Chevy man to the bone, and he just won't pull for a Ford. I remember watching Ricky Rudd spin out Dale Earnhardt, wrecking himself and Dale on the last lap of the Holly Farms 400 back in 1989, allowing Jeff Bodine to squeak by for the victory. I remember watching some dude throw a beer bottle and hit Bobby Allison's number 22 Miller Buick under caution. And when the crowd all pointed to him, Wilkes County's finest quickly came and grabbed him up and took him away. As this guy was sitting 2 or 3 seats from me, and there I was, 11 or 12 years old, and this guy just threw a beer bottle on the racetrack, hit a race car, and here comes the law grabbing him up. Needless to say, it left a mark on me. But my favorite memory is watching Darrell Waltrip win one of his countless victories at North Wilkesboro. After the race, my dad took me down across the track, just outside Victory Lane. There stood my larger-than-life hero, Darrell Waltrip. He then walked out of the winner's circle to go up to the VIP booth and do a MRN interview. He suddenly stopped when he noticed me, this 10-year-old little boy wearing a Dew Crew t-shirt. He patted my head and tasseled my hair, and I can recall not wanting to wash my hair for a pretty good while. I once met Dale Earnhardt in Charlotte in the Wheaties tent. I stood in line to meet Dale while he had his breakfast. While he sat there eating his Wheaties, I finally got up to meet him, and upon asking him for his autograph, he just looked up and he smiled that famous Earnhardt smile and he said, "Son, I'm trying to eat my breakfast." I still pulled for Dale, and that's one of my favorite memories of it. My dad used to buy me placemats at every race, and placemats were exactly that. They're placemats for your dinner table. They had the race car drivers and the race cars pictured on them. I have them to this day put up in my attic, ranging from Dale Earnhardt's number 3 to every Darrell Waltrip car from 79 to 1991. I even have the first one that my dad ever bought me, a 1978 Cale Yarborough, when he drove the number 11 Holly Farms Chevrolet for Junior Johnson. I still recall sitting in my mom's station wagon, pretending I was Cale Yarborough when he was on the Dukes of Hazzard. And out of the blue, he pulls out this trick carburetor, and Bo and Luke put it on the General Lee, and it gives them just enough horsepower to make the jump across the river. By the way, they make that jump every week on the Dukes of Hazzard. I even remember leaving church early with Dad a few times so we could make it to the race, much to the dislike of my mom and the Lord. But I figured God was an Earnhardt fan, so he must have been okay with it, or he just let it slide. Mom, on the other hand, didn't. She wasn't an Earnhardt fan in those days, but she sure could intimidate me and Dad. We would always get some Holly Farms chicken or some KFC on the way to the track, and everybody else must have too, because I remember dodging chicken bones being thrown to the fence most of the race. My dad was a carpet installer for over 30 years, and he used to take carpet padding and double it over and then tape it, and we would use it as cushions. We should have patented that and had Billy Mays Hayes market that thing and call it the Butt Saber 2000s, and we'd be rich today. I can remember thinking when I finally grew up how cool it would be to finally take my dad to a race and pay him back for all the many times that he took me as a kid. I finally dragged him to a Bristol spring race a few years back, And I don't remember who won that spring race, but I remember feeling proud sitting there with my dad. See, my dad is Dale Earnhardt to me. Larger than life, tough as nails, wise beyond his years. You don't want to rile him, and you don't want to get in his way. I learned so much from just watching my dad. And as I sat there watching that Hickory Speedway race with my 11-year-old son Tanner, I couldn't help but hope it means to him what it did to me when my dad took me as a kid. I still occasionally make it over to my dad's house for the Sunday race, and Dad, he still fusses about how bad Junior's running, or how big a nerd Kyle Busch is, and how racing ain't the same since Dale Sr. died. Well, maybe he's right. I know it's changed so many ways, but what remains the same is I sit with my son watching the sparks fly and hear the engines fire up, or smell the racing gas and the burnt rubber, and watch the military jets do a flyby. What hasn't changed is that bond between me and the old man, that same bond my son is forging with me now. Dad taught me how to fish, how to work on cars, how to mow the yard. He taught me about morals, and he taught me about God. He let me know when I was wrong, which he still does to this day, and I'm 38 years old. But I'm thankful for my dad taking me to those races, and I'm thankful for the memories that I have from them. Maybe one day I'll break down and tell the old man how I blew up that weak little 307 in my 72 Chevrolet lowrider pickup. Because I knew if I blew it up, we'd put a faster 350 in it, or he would. Maybe one day I'll tell him how me and Joey Porch purposely had a shift kit put in my 70 Chevelle. See, Dad gave me that 70 Chevelle when I was 16. And we put that shift kit in it would bark the tires when it automatically changed gears. He wasn't too happy about that, but I think he knew all along we had it planned. It's hard to get much past the old man these days. But Dad, if you're listening, just remember, I never wrecked any of your cars. Not like my little sister did. As you sit here today, listening to Trips Travels, or you're driving down the road, I want to challenge you to something. I want to challenge you to take your son or your daughter or your granddaughter or grandson to the next Nextel race, or even the next Hickory Motor Speedway race, and make a memory that will last a lifetime. I never knew growing up all the races my dad took me would mean what it means to me today. Back then it was just a little kid begging to go with his dad, begging for this racing souvenir and this racing souvenir, and for food, and to go to into the infield, into the pits after the race to meet the drivers. And I can just imagine how much stress I caused the old man. But I'm thankful my dad done that. It's left me with some great memories, great stories, and it's left me with a bond that I wouldn't take nothing for. Well, that's about it for today's Trips Travels. Catch us on the last Friday morning of each month, and follow us on Trips Travels on Facebook. There you can find pictures and videos of all our past shows. Today's show is brought to you by A1 Termite and Pest Control of Lenore. Next time you're needing some pest control, call up my good friends at A1 Termite. And tell old Bruce that Tripp sent you. Until next time, keep it between the ditches and off the wall. Make some great memories with your son or daughter. Take them to a race. And thank you for listening to Trips Travels here on 92.1 The Big Dawg.